Last month, an extraordinary discovery in the field of biblical archaeology reignited discussions about the intricate relationship between biblical accounts and historical evidence. During ongoing excavations near the southern wall of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, archaeologists from the Israel Antiquities Authority unearthed a remarkable stone seal. This rare artifact dates back approximately 2,700 years, placing it firmly within the First Temple period, specifically the era of the temple constructed by King Solomon. This artifact holds immense significance, not only due to its advanced age and rarity, but also because of the intriguing information it contains. It hints at a possible connection to one of David's mighty men, the legendary warriors who fought alongside him from the time he was pursued by King Saul. We understand that many critics harbor doubts about the existence of biblical figures and the historical accuracy of their stories. Consequently, any discovery that might shed light on these historical facts often sparks considerable public interest. For example, David's mighty men are often dismissed by skeptics as merely legendary warriors, a fabricated narrative designed to glorify the supposed exploits of the ancient Israelites. Naturally, for those who believe in the Bible's veracity, its authority, and its inerrancy as the Word of God, such skeptical theories are seen as contemptible. But what exactly was this discovery, and could it truly serve as proof of the existence of a warrior from biblical times? Let's delve into this in today's video. The mysterious seal, iconography and inscription. The artifact in question is a basalt stone seal intricately engraved with the figure of a winged character. Researchers are identifying this figure as a genius or protective demon, a common motif in Neo-Assyrian culture. The figure features long curls, wears something resembling a hat, helmet, or crown, and has one arm extended with an open palm, possibly holding an object. Indeed, the iconography of these winged figures was extensively utilized in Assyrian art between the 9th and 7th centuries BCE, frequently symbolizing protection. What truly captivated archaeologists, however, was the fact that this object was discovered in the city of Jerusalem and bears a Paleo-Hebrew inscription on its surface. The inscription reads, Le Yozar Benayahu, meaning belonging to Yosar, son of Hosayahu. Furthermore, the inscription appears to have been written in a somewhat careless manner, lacking the same precision and quality as the engraved image of the winged creature. This stylistic difference may suggest that the inscription was a later addition, perhaps inscribed by the son when he inherited the seal from his father. Regardless, this detail strongly implies that the seal belonged to a prominent figure in the kingdom of Judah, possibly a high-ranking official. This inscription is precisely what has led some researchers to propose a connection between the seal and one of the mighty warriors who joined King David during his conflict with Saul, or at the very least, to one of their descendants. But before we discuss this figure specifically, it's crucial to understand the nature and function of such seals in biblical times. The power of the seal in the ancient world. In the ancient world, seals played a crucial role in administrative, commercial, and personal practices. These small objects, often crafted from stone, ceramic, or metal, were used to authenticate documents, mark property, and secure valuable items. Such seals not only symbolized authority and status, but also ensured the authenticity of contracts and correspondence. It is important to grasp that seals were utilized by powerful and prestigious individuals in that era, particularly by members of the political, religious, or commercial elite. You can think of these seals as the personal signatures of influential individuals in the ancient Near East. Literacy was a privilege reserved for a select few, making the use of seals for authentication an effective method to validate transactions and decrees, thereby ensuring their official recognition. Seals were employed to imprint marks on documents, clay tablets, and letters, guaranteeing that their content was legitimate and protected. However, beyond their practical utility and administrative control, seals often held deep symbolic and spiritual functions. Many were personalized with names, titles, and religious or protective symbols, such as figures of magical or spiritual creatures like the winged figure found on this Jerusalem seal. Thus, in addition to representing power and authority, these objects frequently served as amulets, believed to offer divine or spiritual protection to their bearer. In fact, the discovered seal has a small hole, indicating that it may have been worn as a personal amulet, perhaps attached to a cord. Seals in biblical narratives. Testament to their significance. Various biblical texts explicitly mention the use of seals, confirming their paramount importance in many aspects of daily and religious life. One of the most notable examples is found in the book of Genesis, where the story of how the seal belonging to Judah, one of Jacob's sons, proved crucial in identifying him during a dispute with his daughter-in-law Tamar. The Bible recounts how Tamar, Judah's daughter-in-law, cunningly deceived him to ensure her survival, demanding his seal, cord, and staff as a pledge. This episode vividly demonstrates the significance of the seal as a symbol of identity and authority. For those unfamiliar with this part of the biblical story, Tamar had been widowed by two of Judah's sons, and according to the tradition of the time, was awaiting marriage to the third son to continue the family line. However, Judah sought to prevent Tamar from marrying his third son, leaving her in a vulnerable situation. She then disguised herself as a prostitute and, through deception, became pregnant by Judah. Later, she revealed that she had become pregnant by the man who owned the seal, cord, and staff in her possession. Thus, the seal served as the undeniable proof of Judah's identity, functioning as an unquestionable personal signature. Another compelling example can be found in the book of Esther, where the royal seal was used by the Persian king Ahasuerus to approve and enact decrees. In Esther chapter 3, verse 10 to 12, the king entrusted his signet ring to Haman to seal an order of destruction against the Jewish people, illustrating how seals also played a central role in matters of government and justice. Later in Esther 8:8, the ring was given to Mordecai, allowing him to issue decrees in the king's name, once again highlighting the immense power and legitimacy a seal conferred upon a document. Furthermore, in Jeremiah chapter 32, 10 to 14, the text records that the prophet Jeremiah bought a field and sealed the deed of purchase with witnesses, storing the document securely. This episode likely describes the use of seals in land transactions, ensuring the authenticity of a formal agreement. Beyond their practical function, seals carry deep spiritual and symbolic meaning in biblical times. In this sense, the use of seals to mark and authenticate was not limited to material matters. They were seen as representations of divine protection and covenant. In the New Testament, for example, we read that believers are sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise. In the book of Revelation, we also encounter this concept of spiritual sealing, where believers are described as being sealed on their foreheads, indicating that they are protected and belong to God, in stark contrast to the wicked who are described as receiving the seal of the beast. Therefore, seals were much more than simple administrative tools in the biblical world. They were imbued with profound meaning, representing power, identity, and protection in both practical and spiritual terms. Seals connected individuals to their roles and responsibilities, while also carrying the indelible mark of their identities. Cultural crossroads, Assyrian influence in Judah. At the beginning of this video, we mentioned that the discovered seal is dated to the time of the First Temple in Jerusalem, corresponding roughly to the period between 1000 and 586 BCE. This was a period of intense political and cultural transformation in the Kingdom of Judah. For much of this period, the dominant influence in the region was the powerful Assyrian Empire. Consequently, Assyrian art, renowned for its depictions of protective figures like demons and winged creatures, strongly influenced neighboring cultures. The discovery of this seal, featuring a Neo-Assyrian figure alongside Hebrew inscriptions, vividly reflects this influence and illustrates the significant cultural exchange between the two kingdoms. While the Kingdom of Judah maintained its religious, monotheistic identity, foreign elements sometimes infiltrated and influenced their practices, especially among the elites. Moreover, Jerusalem served as a central point along crucial trade routes connecting Mesopotamia to Egypt, which undoubtedly contributed to the local population's absorption of external influences. Thus, there was indeed significant religious syncretism, where idols, symbols, and practices of foreign beliefs, such as the winged demon depicted on this seal, were adopted and reinterpreted by Judean society. The fact that an important Judahite official commissioned a seal with an Assyrian figure exemplifies this type of syncretism. It's also crucial to clarify that the concept of demon in the Assyrian context did not carry the exact same negative connotation as it does in the Judeo-Christian tradition. In the Assyrian world, these entities were not necessarily seen as representations of evil, but were often considered protective beings, similar to the jinn in Arab culture, or angelic beings. What does this imply? When reports mention that a seal belonging to a high-ranking Judahite official from biblical times was found, and it features the image of a winged demon, it does not mean that this official carried a symbol of a fallen angel or a demon in the Judeo-Christian sense. This does not imply he was a follower of Satan or anything of that sort. Although the Bible teaches that behind any representation and devotion to deities or mythical creatures, there is a demonic influence meant to spread deception among people. It is more accurate to understand that this Judahite official carried a seal with the figure of a mystical creature recognized as a type of protective being, which aligns closely with the predominant concept of demons in Neo-Assyrian culture. Obviously, this does not negate the religious syncretism of this official, nor does it absolve him of idolatry. In other words, he was simply one of many who, unfortunately, placed their trust outside the God of Israel. A striking contrast: names and idolatry. At this point, there is a notable contrast. As we mentioned, the discovered seal bears the inscription identifying it as belonging to Yozar, son of Hasayahu. Interestingly, both names are theophoric, meaning they incorporate the divine name Yahweh, or its abbreviated form. The name Yozar can be translated as God is help, or the Lord helps, while Hasayahu can be translated as Yahweh saves, or God saves. Thus, both names express trust in the Lord's help and emphasize the idea of divine salvation. Ironically, however, these two individuals, whose very names bore witness to the great saving acts of the God who is truly worthy of trust, also carried a protective amulet featuring the figure of a mystical creature. Considering the location where the seal was found, these individuals were neighbors of the Lord's temple in Jerusalem. Each time their names were spoken, it served as a reminder that God is help, God saves, and the Lord is the one who rescues. Yet tragically, they chose to protect themselves and authenticate their business with mythological figures. This serves as compelling evidence of the danger of idolatry and its devastating consequences. Idolatry leads people away from the truth of God, which is right before them, and plunges them into an endless search for deception. At this point, one might argue that Assyria's influence was enormous at the time, but that was no excuse for a member of the covenant people to fail in their exclusive devotion to God. The story of the prophet Daniel and his 3 friends in Babylon is a powerful example that it is possible to remain faithful to God even in a foreign land, amidst an idolatrous people. The enduring question: David's mighty man? And so we arrive at the inevitable question: did the discovered seal belong to one of David's mighty men? Some scholars are indeed attempting to establish a possible connection between this artifact and one of David's mighty warriors. These warriors were renowned for their exceptional skills and unwavering loyalty to the future king of Israel during his exile and conflicts with Saul. Additionally, they played a crucial role in unifying the tribes of Israel and consolidating the kingdom under David's leadership. But how are they attempting to make this connection between the seal and one of David's warriors? The inscription on the seal bears the name Yahozer, which is a variant of a name that appears in the list of warriors in 1 Chronicles 12:7, translated in our Portuguese Bibles as Joser. The reasoning is essentially this: a seal was found that belonged to someone powerful or part of the Israelite elite during the First Temple period in Jerusalem. Researchers then searched for any biblical record of the name engraved on the seal and found a reference that one of David's trusted men who lived during that time bore a very similar name. Hence, the hypothesis arose that the seal's owner and David's mighty warrior might be the same person. However, it's important to understand that this is merely a conjecture. It is a hypothesis that could be true or false. The seal might have belonged to this warrior of David, or more likely, to one of his descendants. This is because the seal is dated to approximately 2,700 years ago, a date later than David's direct lifetime, but still firmly within the First Temple period, that is the pre-exilic period. Could the seal have been passed down through the family from David's warrior? Perhaps. Or it may have belonged to another prestigious person who lived in Jerusalem during that period. For now, it's impossible to know. If the seal did belong to a descendant of Yozar, this would indicate that the family maintained its prominent position in Israelite society over several generations. What is certain is that the seal's location near the Temple Mount, an area of great religious and administrative importance, strongly suggests that the artifact's owner was an influential figure. In any case, the discovery of the seal is indeed very important from an archaeological perspective. While it does not specifically prove the existence of one of David's mighty men, this find significantly contributes to our understanding of life in Israelite society during the biblical period and confirms the ongoing religious tensions the people experienced under the influence of neighboring nations. In the Old Testament, there are several denunciations of religious syncretism among the people of Israel, and this seal serves as archaeological evidence of that practice, which ultimately led to the period of captivity when divine judgment was poured out due to the spiritual adultery of the nation. What do you think? Could this seal have belonged to one of David's warriors or one of their descendants? Share your thoughts in the comments below.